But electronic mortgages are something that is becoming more and more common. Fannie Mae is studying e-mortgages. They found that an electronic mortgage process could cut 30 days off the average 52 days it takes to close a loan. That's kind of crazy. 52 days is the average to close a loan. That's remarkable.
Kind of number too.
I would have expected it to be shorter than that. But I also see some of our loans take 75 days, from start to finish. So it is a little surprising to me, 52, when the norm, before some of the regulation was about 30 days. You expected 30 days for a loan closing, and now, because of all the truth in lending and federal government changes, Obama, paperwork, everything gets blamed on Obama, though. I mean, it's just like, especially on our state, it's just safe, You can just be like, hey, interest rates are high, it's Obama's fault, And obviously, I think most of the people that listen to this show know where I line politically in terms of my strong ties to conservative Republicans, but nonetheless, he seems to get, it's an easy target because he has done a lot of dumb stuff. But
well, you can blame Obama, he'll just turn around and blame Bush.
That's true. Yeah, it's eight years later and it's still Bush's fault, So, but nonetheless, electronic mortgages, speeding up the closing process, and a lot of lenders are talking about going to that, even from an electronic closing. We've seen electronic signatures kind of take over, people signing contracts electronically. And again, just as much as there's risk as someone signing it not in your presence, there's just as much of a likely risk as someone else opens up that email and it's not the actual person named on that contract signing it. So there's risk no matter which way you go in terms of ensuring the validity of the signature and that it's the real person. What's your take on kind of the electronic mortgages, maybe pros and cons, so to speak?
Well, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for everybody to come to an agreement on exactly what works. Florida court systems, for us filing court documents for any sort of suit, probate, or anything else, the attorneys have an electronic signature, but that's been set up by statute. So we sign with a hash mark and an S and another hash mark, and then we type our name. To actually do a physical signature on an iPad, the courts for attorneys haven't accepted that. So for an industry to come up with a standard that they decide is acceptable, I think you're going to see several variations before we get to that standard.
Because it's going to have to go through other, multiple states and approvals, and because a lender at a title company that operate nationwide aren't going to want to have to do, oh, here's this or here. They're not going to want to have to jump. They're probably going to want to streamline it.
Well, and so they're looking at emails. Emails they can take emails and turn those into court and say this is the valid communication. It's a documentation according to exactly what happened and what the belief on both parties' side was.
So just looking at it from a devil's advocate standpoint, we do a lot of electronic signature now. So in the state of Florida, all the local real estate commissions and everyone is generally accepted that digital signature is okay because you can track an IP address, you can track an email open. It's safer than whether or not you could verify if someone actually physically signed it before they dropped the contract off at your office. At least that's some people's claim. But the problem with that, and again, I'm all for e-signatures because it does save us a lot of time. It's a lot cleaner, but you're never going to have a system that's foolproof from fraud. Just an email could be intercepted. A husband could sign instead of the wife. He could open up the email instead of the wife to sign. So there's always going to be what ifs. There's always going to be scenarios where you could have a contract that maybe isn't really a legally enforceable document because the wrong person signed it.
Well, and I think signing electronically for various things is going to be fine, but when it comes down to signing extremely important documents,
legally
you're still
recorded
going to have a
documents,
notary and witnesses and that requirement.
And how do you do all that with and make it electronic? And I think that's obviously a challenge that they're going to have. That it's interesting, and I think interesting from a standpoint of I think it could really help. You have to look at it. Anytime they make decisions like this, they have to weigh the pros and the cons. And do the pros outweigh the cons in order to make the decision? Because the cons are you're going to have some chance for fraud. You're going to open up a chance for somebody to say that there's someone that they're not, someone to sign a document that they really weren't authorized to sign. But you have the same thing if it was just someone signing a piece of paper. It's the same risk.
Exactly.
It's the same exact risk. I think the positive side of it is, and I talked to FBC Home Loans about this a little bit. And I wanted to get their take on, hey, how does this happen? What happens if it goes this path? And their take on it was it could more quickly close loans, okay, streamline it. The filing of the documents could be better and easier, less mistakes, less risk of a package getting lost by FedEx.
Or just a piece of it missing.
Right, a piece of missing. But you know the thing that they relayed to me that I thought was kind of interesting that I didn't think about, improvement of the GDP, gross domestic product, improvement of home sales and creation of jobs. And I thought to myself, what? Like, what are you talking about? You know, because they were real. You know, they gave me some great ideas, and I really didn't grasp it at first. They're like, look, if the average loan closing goes from 52 days to 30 days, more homes sell and close in a year. More people move more quickly.
And you need more closers to do it.
You need more closers to do it. More action. So in other words, if you quicken the pace that they close, instead of a company being able to close 40 loans in a month, now all of a sudden they can get to 50 in a month. You know, and the turnover happens more quickly. It's kind of like, you know, if you're selling widgets at Walmart and you got so many widgets on the shelf at Walmart and you can produce only so many widgets and there's more buyers for them than there are widgets to buy at Walmart. You have a supply, you know, you can only sell so many. Well, it's the same thing with real estate. You can only get so many real estate transactions closed because you're limited by time. But if they quicken that pace, then the guy that buys in November can now close in November and buy his new home in December instead of having to wait till the next year. So that quickening of the pace and the quickening of the spend of money, it turns into more real estate transactions, money coming in quicker, money going out to other providers. It's a whole improvement of the economy that's kind of like a domino effect if they speed up the mortgage process. And I didn't really think about it like that, but it's true. So an example is a real estate company right now. If they know contracts coming in can't close for 52 days, it's 52 days till they're paid. 52 days till the mortgage owner's paid, till the title company's paid. If they start getting that money in 27 days, they get to invest it sooner. They get to spend it sooner. They get to go out and shop sooner. They get more, you know. And the other side of it, there's a benefit to the federal government. That money so for example, if the loan closing goes from 30 to 52 days, my company can sell more homes and close more homes in a year. Which means, guess what? At the end of the day, when the profit runs to the owner and I get my income taxes done, I'm going to pay more in tax because I was able to generate more income in that year than some of it rolling to the next year because of how long the loan closing process takes. So it's really across the board. If they come up with an electronic process to do that, it's going to help the real estate community immensely. It's going to help the federal government. They're going to get more tax, and it's going to help the consumer by being able to move more swiftly and quickly and compete with a cash buyer. You know, which is what they have a hard time doing now. When you go in to make an offer on a house, and you're raising your hand, and you're the guy that's got $300,000 in a loan, and you got to close 52 days later, and then you've got a guy that's got $300,000 and he can stroke a check. You're not going to win that battle. But when you shrink that time frame down, you start to get more competitive.
Well, I personally lost a couple houses because I was waiting for my house to sell and didn't have the cash to go into another one and lost to somebody else who did.
Right, and that's, we see it happen all the time. We've bought investment property that the only reason I won the battle was because I was cash and I was quick. And you know, we've talked about our immediate buyout program and our guaranteed sale program and all the unique things that we do where if homes don't sell, we buy them, or in instances where if somebody really doesn't want to deal with listing the home, we'll just flat out say, hey, we'll buy it. You know, tell me what you want and we'll see. And what's interesting about that is the reason why cash is king in the real estate market is because of how long it takes to get a loan closed. People don't want to wait 60 days, and I think it's also a shift in America. Our country has changed in terms of people wanting immediate gratification. You know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they want to post instead of mailing out a postcard to all their friends and family and posting it, you know, and putting it on someone's wall. They want to post it and get 100 likes and get it in front of people in 30 seconds. Well, and so the immediate gratification expectation of consumers is they want it now. So when you tell them they got to wait 52 days, they, in many instances, would rather go out and sometimes take less for the house to someone that can say, I can get you your money in 12 days, you know, and it's why why that process for getting a mortgage is broken.
Well, and technology will help move things along. Banks are already accepting electronic signatures. They have been for a long time when it comes to your debit card and credit card.
Right.
You always sign those pads, which I don't know about your signature, but mine doesn't look anything like it when I sign that pad.
No, mine looks like a, you know, just a chicken scratch. It's like a with a slash, you know. And what's interesting is that what they found is by a lot of the retailers, by providing that efficiency, they sell more products, okay, And people have a more pleasant experience in the store by getting in and out quicker than if they have to print, wait, sign, and then give the receipt. So what happens is they increase sales to a greater extent than the actual fraud by somebody doing a fake signature.
Well, and I still occasionally, not very often, but it just happened the other day, I got stuck behind a lady who was writing a check, and I was so impatient with the extra 30 seconds it took her to write that check.
Right. And you know, so the interesting thing is that, you know, putting e-mortgages in place has so many positive impacts on the economy, the federal government, the real estate process, all of the companies that are tied to the real estate transaction. And let's face it, our economy is heavily tied to real estate. I mean, you know, there are so many jobs dependent on that if you can move more inventory, sell more homes, close more loans, you're going to make a lot of people really happy, and you're going to provide them more income that the government can tax. I wish they wouldn't tax it at such a high rate, but they do. And and it's just the reality of the process is e-mortgages are just, they're just the wave of the future, and I can't wait for it. I really cannot wait for them to come up with something, and I think it would be game changing, and there's no reason why they can't come up with a viable solution. It'll take some time. You're right. It's going to take some time to work through the motions. But I just love the idea because I think it could quicken the pace of everything. And
oh, it could, because right now you sign a document, we scan it anyway. We scan it in the system, so we have an electronic copy of it, so we have it there, and then we send off the paper somewhere else.